everyone, welcome to Manchester, the home of the world's oldest passenger railway, the place where they very first split the atom, the cradle of the Industrial Revolution and the birthplace of the world's first computer. For such a small city, it's known for a great many things: great history, great science and great sport. But there are a few lesser known facts about the city that make it much more interesting than all that. Yes, that's right, we're going to start off with the important stuff right here in Ancoats, the epicentre of Manchester's Industrial Revolution. Since the late medieval era, Manchester has always been a place that has warmed to outside visitors and welcomed foreign immigrants, particularly those who could bring in a new trade, such as the Flemish weavers in the 1620s, who helped introduce weaving to the town. You know, the trade that eventually put Manchester on the map. By the late 19th century, here amidst the dark satanic mills and grim streets of this part of the city, a growing number of migrants came to settle, attracted to Manchester by the economic opportunities. And they came from all over the world, bringing with them a determination to work hard and provide for their families, but also an eagerness to contribute both their expertise and culture. A large proportion arrived from Italy, and one of the trades they pioneered here was in ice cream. Back then, ice cream was served in glass bowls, with customers sometimes licking them clean to the last drop. Not surprisingly, this wasn't the most sanitary thing, and authorities became increasingly alarmed at reports many vendors weren't even washing them after use. And so a local vendor, Antonio Valvona, invented a biscuit twist cone, a simple and edible way of holding ice cream which didn't need reusing. Consequently, Valvona is often credited with saving the trade in the city, but also changing the way we eat ice cream all over the world. Now just a stone's throw away in Manchester's northern quarter, an area well known for its alternative, often hidden, secret, off-the-wall artistic beauty, eagle-eyed visitors to the city might have noticed that some of the street signs are a bit unusual and unique looking. Blue with white writing one way, white with blue writing the other way. Actually, you might even notice that they are orientated accordingly, northwest to southeast running streets being mostly blue, and northeast to southwest running streets being mostly white. Well, they're a clever addition by artist Tim Rushton, designed to connect the area's historical links to the textile trade to its grid-like street pattern, the warp and weft of interlinking cotton threads. As we've seen, Manchester became a textile manufacturing giant in the 18th and 19th centuries, with the new burgeoning capitalism sweeping thousands of people from the land and into the life of mills and factories, ports, warehouses and railway yards. It made Manchester famous, fairly wealthy and attractive for business and inventors. But it also made the city a petri dish for the new industrial society. And while many of those we credit these days with bringing about this technological change were wealthy men who accumulated vast amounts of money, it's easy to forget that such change was only brought about through the hard work of hundreds of thousands of poor working class people who toiled night and day without many rights and very little pay. The textile trade may seem so irrelevant when you walk the streets of Manchester today, but I think these street signs help us to remember those who worked hard for virtually no recognition. Okay, so let's step it up a notch now, shall we? The name Rothschild is famous the world over for being a prestigious banking and trading family name, a powerful empire in business and investment for the last couple of centuries. But did you know that the man who transformed it into a global powerhouse, synonymous with political decision making and elitism, in fact, he was the richest man in the world by the end of it, started his career off here in Manchester? Nathan Mayer Rothschild already came from a wealthy banking family in Germany, and he and his four brothers sought to start a dynasty wherever showed promise. Nathan therefore arrived in Manchester like any other economic migrant, attracted by the booming textile trade and the investments on offer. Now, of course, he wasn't like most migrants to the city and immediately surrounded himself with relative luxury.
In 1798 he settled here, living on Mosley Street, but eventually took operations to London, where the company still remains to this day.
Bonus points, Mosley Street is named after the Mosley family, who owned the Manor of Manchester from the end of the 16th century to the start of the 19th century. And one of their descendants was, of course, Oswald Mosley. That's right, the Hitler-loving, Mussolini-admiring racist nutjob who tried repeatedly to establish a political foothold in the city, only for angry crowds of anti-fascist Mancunians to send him packing. Now, it's a bit of a common misconception, one repeated again and again by supposedly credible media sources, that vegetarianism was born in Manchester. Now, of course, this isn't true. People have been avoiding meat since the very first dawn of humans. Still, credit where it's due, Manchester and its twin city, Salford, were the spiritual home of the Vegetarian Society. And I mean that quite literally too.
One of the key people involved in its development was the Reverend William Cowherd, from the Bible Christian Church in Salford, who encouraged his followers to drop flesh from their diets as a method of temperance, and a possible way to make them healthier. One of his followers was Joseph Brotherton, who would later become Salford's first MP, and whose wife published the first ever vegetarian cookery book.
Now, after various meetings between the leading advocates of the day, the Vegetarian Society was established in 1847 down in Kent, but set up its operations in Manchester, here in Altrincham, where it still operates even today.
Today, vegetarianism is so mainstream that virtually every menu in the Western world offers at least one flesh-free option. Every year, more and more people choose to cut down on their meat consumption or cut it out altogether, with the biggest rise in the over 50s, due to health concerns.
And another bonus fact, Manchester is rapidly becoming a powerhouse in vegan dining too, with a number of fantastic businesses being set up in and around the city, making Manchester one of Europe's top destinations for anybody who can't stomach animal exploitation. Yes, that's right, one thing you probably did think you know about Manchester, but turns out actually not to be true, probably, is that Mr. Rolls and Mr. Royce did not, in fact, meet at the Midland Hotel.
Henry Royce moved to Manchester in 1884 at the age of 21 and set up a partnership at first with a man called Ernest Claremont, manufacturing electrical fittings and then dynamos. They had a workshop on Cook Street in Hume, just south of the city, and then opened a bigger one in Trafford Park. Royce then became interested in making motor cars and produced 3 of his own, one of which was given to a friend called Henry Edmonds of the Royal Automobile Club. Edmonds then arranged a meeting between Royce and his friend from London called Charles Rolls, a motor enthusiast, Old Etonian, and the owner of one of Britain's first car dealerships.
Now, that famous meeting is said to have taken place at Manchester's most prestigious hotel, the Midland, on the 4th of August 1904. However, and all credit here to local historian Ed Glynner, there's simply no evidence to suggest that is true. No photos, no verification, nothing but a passing mention in Edmonds' recollection. That's right, neither Rolls nor Royce ever mentioned the Midland Hotel as being the meeting place. Not only that, but Edmonds doesn't even mention the words Midland Hotel. In fact, all he says is, we went to the Great Central Hotel in Manchester and lunched together.
In fact, there was and is no such place as the Great Central Hotel, and so historians have generally assumed that Edmonds and Rolls arrived in Manchester at Central Station and headed into the adjacent Midland Hotel to meet Royce. Perhaps then, Edmonds just assumed that the hotel was called the Great Central because of the station there. However, it seems no train left London that day to arrive at Central Station in time for lunch. The only one that did leave London would have arrived at what is now Piccadilly Station, on the other side of a busy, hectic city full of horses and carriages jamming up the streets.
Now, would they have bothered travelling through all that mess just to get some lunch together? Well, maybe. Or, more likely, they would have stayed somewhere a bit closer to the station, say, right beneath the station, somewhere called the Great Central Refreshment Rooms. And like I said, all credit to local historian and writer Mr. Glynner there for the research. And there you go, 5 little historical things about Manchester which you might not have known about. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'm enjoying making these videos. Thanks so much for liking, subscribing, etc, etc, or just watching, even if you don't like, even if you dislike it, that's still good. It's all good, man. Yes, thanks so much. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time. Bye.